This is our galaxy, ours to corrupt, ours to enslave. The gods will not be denied their prize.
Hello everyone, this is your host Legend, and welcome back to my channel. A little over 2 months ago now, patch 1.37 dropped, bringing a lot of changes and, well, most significantly of them all, was the Onslaught rework. Onslaughts for the longest time was a mode that suffered from a host of issues, namely that the awards just were not worth the amount of time that it took to do even a singular Onslaught. But at the same time, Onslaughts was one of the few ways you could gain shards for characters you couldn't grind within the campaigns, so it became a very necessary evil. So for this video, I want to revisit Onslaught 2.0 and really just evaluate it through the lens of how it's affected our community. I want to talk quickly about what went wrong with the old system once again, just to kind of refresh our memories on what Onslaught 1.0 looked like. Then we're going to move on to talking about why Onslaught 2.0 did so well. Let's not waste any more time, let's get right into this. To keep things brief and short, Onslaught 1.0 was riddled with issues from the ground up. Starting with what is, to me, one of the greater problems with the mode is how slow it was. You had 7 waves of enemies with them being staggered by 2 turns each. It was very easy to have the enemy wave spawn, wipe them out, and then have to skip your next turn because you had already killed the whole enemy team. On one hand, this gave you plenty of time to reset in a mode that you really didn't because you were only facing Hormagaunts, Termagants, Tyranid warriors, and Ripper swarms, which most of the time, if you're using your best units, you just completely wipe them out because of how underleveled they were compared to your units. The other big issue for me was just how much of a necessary evil Onslaughts was. 1.0, despite how slow it was, how little you were rewarded for your time, was a very necessary thing to do. Plenty of characters can't be grinded through campaigns, and at the time we didn't have many campaign events. Campaign events have reduced this strain a little bit, but still Onslaughts remains the dominant source for shards outside of requisition scrolls. At the time, honoring your warriors only saw you getting 6 to 7 shards as long as you were far enough into the sectors for that Onslaught path. This was a miserably low amount of shards for a mode that took so long to complete even one of. No exaggeration, you probably spent about, if you were fully capped, you spent probably about 20 minutes running Onslaughts against enemy lineups that didn't really change, in maps that were kind of just boring and uninteresting. The sector system was also a big fault of the mode. To clear a singular sector and move on to the next one, you had to clear about 7 battles, which is a problem that we see still to this day within Salvage Run, which hopefully, looking at how they handled Onslaught, that's something that'll be fixed here soon enough. That's the major points and issues with 1.0. There's a whole host of them, but I have a full video talking about that when 1.37 initially dropped, so we're gonna leave it here. Onslaught 2.0 brought a lot of great changes, namely better rewards, quicker playtime, and more varied units. The factor that we went from basic cannon fodder Tyranids to also having command units, Barbagonts, and Gene Stealers was so good. That the Gene Stealers and the Spore Mines that were added can definitely get annoying at times, but it is such a welcome change from just facing the same 4 basic units haphazardly rotated every single Onslaught. The honor system got a massive rehaul, with the honor system now working by rarity, with common capping at 3 to 4 shards per Onslaught, uncommon 4 to 5, rare to 6 to 7, epic is 10 to 11, and on my main account, I'm not quite at the max for legendary, but if I remember right from my playtesting, it's around 21 to 25. Someone can feel free to correct me in the comments. This makes Onslaughts so much more valuable than they were, and on top of the factor that the mode is just simply a lot more fun to play, it is so much better than what we had, and I'd be surprised to hear if someone says, oh, I miss Onslaught 1.0. So that kind of wraps things up with, or at least recaps things kind of briefly and quickly as I wanted to. Community reception is the greatest thing that drives the game forward, and 2.0 could not have been received any better. Between being able to have another way to grind Machine of War shards outside of incursions and requisition scrolls, having a way to test lineups, just everything in between, Onslaughts has become a great mode. And although it can get stale at times, like naturally any mode that is kind of the same concept over and over again is going to get stale, but it is still far much better with the variants, with everything that it has going for it. I don't really find any complaint, and I've not really seen any complaint either. The crates are still not the best, but they're still far better than they were. Everything about the mode is just, I feel like a broken record, but it's just because I can't praise the changes that were made enough. And the Onslaught change couldn't have come at a better time, in a moment where the in-game economy is struggling. Even now, 2 months later, there still hasn't been enough significant change to the in-game economy to make the game feel a little less grindy, per se, but I'm hoping for sure that those changes will come with due time. To be honest, I'm not sure how to continue forward. Like, I've already stated most of my thoughts, and there's not much more that needs to be said about the mode. It's far more healthier for the game where it's at, and I guess this brings me to what I would like to see, is that this kind of change comes to Salvage Run as well. Salvage Run struggles from much the same issues that Onslaught 1.0 had, and Onslaught 2.0 really shows us a good system for replacing and making something better without breaking the fundamental idea of the mode. This also leads me to my next thing I really want to do, and it's just appreciate Snowprint even a little bit more. There are definitely parts of the game that are struggling, and Snowprint has a lot of work in front of them, but they've done a great job in so many sections of the game, and there's not been really an update I can think of within recent time where I can say, man, that really fell flat. That wasn't a good idea. I don't know how they managed to keep doing it, but they have a tendency to keep striking the iron while it's hot. With that, I've really said my piece. I don't really have much more to add on to this video. I want to thank you all so much for listening to me rant for probably about like 8 to 10 minutes, hopefully. Maybe less, more than likely less, but that's beside the point. In case you didn't know, I finally got a job. It's quite nice to have something outside of, well, YouTube and staying home all the time. I'm gonna be assembling medical parts, and I'm quite excited, so I'll see if I can keep you guys up to date on parts of that at least. The medical field's something I've had a passion for, and I'm glad to be in it in some form of way. It's not exactly what I wanted to do, but I'm more than glad that I have something. If that's going to affect how I'm able to put out content, I'll be sure to let you guys know. If I ever can't make a post for a week for some reason, I will always inform you in my YouTube post section. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all later. This is your host, Legend, signing off.